Later today in Destiny 2 will be the 6th ever Festival of the Lost in Destiny's history, with its first appearance being all the way back in 2015 during the year of the Taken King. Now, we had small holiday themed items in year 1 of Destiny 1, like jack-o'-lantern helmet consumables, and at Christmas time Rahul gave everyone an engram present, but this right here was our first real holiday themed event. There was nothing related to Festival of the Lost being announced ahead of time by Bungie. No trailers, no tweets, nothing. So when you booted up the game that Tuesday, nobody knew we'd be greeted with Halloween decorations and trick-or-treat quest lines. It was a total surprise. The quests related to the event had you collecting candy by completing activities, as well as completing various smaller challenges like tripping off the tower with the Atheon mask on. The candy could be turned into Eva Levante once your candy bag was filled, and she would give you a mask. One of 17 possible masks, and if you wanted to keep your mask after the event ended, you would need to upgrade it to legendary status with the glue consumable. Eververse had just been added to the game a few weeks before Festival of the Lost, and one of the most sought after items was available in the Treasures of the Lost, aka the loot boxes. The Blue Skull mask was the most coveted item from the event, which everyone spent way too much money trying to get, or maybe you were just that lucky with your free loot boxes. Emotes like the Thriller Dance came with the event as well. Festival of the Lost would return in 2016 during the Rise of Iron and would be very similar to the Taken King's year. It brought some new masks, emotes, ghost shells, shaders, sparrows, and this time exotic weapon ornaments, all available in the loot boxes. Eververse was a much bigger focus this year, having another sought after item like the blue mask from last year. The Wolf mask, which paired with an emote called Wolf Howl, which would make the mask glow blue for a short amount of time. Quests were a bit more fun this time around though. One of them involved trading the box of raisins Eris gave you last year for different candies between all the NPCs in the tower. After the final trade was made, you would be rewarded with the Super Black shader, one of the game's best looking shaders. Other quests would involve helping the sweeper bot find his broom, that once found, could be used as a sparrow for the duration of the event. The festival would not return in 2017 with Destiny 2, due to probably a few things. The game had just launched and there was still likely a lot of focus on that, with the game being a sequel and everything. Still, the event would be sorely missed. But thankfully the festival returned in 2018 with a bang during Forsaken. It brought along most of the things we'd expect from the event, candy quests, masks, various other vanity items and cosmetics, but best of all, a brand new activity for the event. The Haunted Forest, which would finally give the Infinite Forest a reason to exist from a gameplay standpoint. The activity had you clearing out waves of enemies before defeating a final boss, which would reset the branch of the forest. It would get harder and harder with each reset by giving you negative modifiers. The masks for the event would even provide you with special perks to help you in the Haunted Forest. And the best reward, an auto rifle called the Horror Story, which had some great perks. Towards the end of the event, an exotic quest would begin, the Thunderlord quest. Discover who killed Master Ives, the Cryptarch from Destiny 1. Now, ever since the return in Forsaken, the Festival of the Lost has made a reappearance each year since. With Shadowkeep's year, we pretty much had the same thing as Forsaken, with of course new masks and cosmetics. And the weapon this year was the Braytech Werewolf, which would have random rolls. And the Haunted Forest would get a new terror boss at the end of the forest, which was a pretty evil surprise.
Yo, the floor is... No! What the hell is happening? I can't get out? And he's immune? Ah, this is rubbish! He's immune! No!
The next Festival of the Lost came before we'd get the next fall expansion in 2020. Taking place during Season of Arrivals, this year's festival would be the last time we'd ever see the Haunted Forest activity for the event, as Beyond Light would end up vaulting the Infinite Forest from the game. It was a bit of an odd year taking place before Beyond Light, but it was roughly the same as the 2 previous years. Except there was no new weapon this year. Players could now farm for the old weapon drops from final chests, rather than needing currency. The problem this year was that weapons dropped from the chest with no requirement to clear even more than one branch, meaning players could just AFK farm instead of trying to reach high-level branches to get the most amount of currency that would be used to buy the weapons. So while the event again was pretty much the same as the last few years, loot and progression during the event was a total failure. And then we get to Festival of the Lost 2021. Replacing the Haunted Forest would be the Haunted Sectors, basically just a few lost sectors with Halloween decorations, and a few more objectives like disrupting summoning rituals and defeating mini-bosses called the Headless Ones. The event brought a few new currencies, spectral pages that would be turned into manifest pages when you were completing a haunted sector, and then could be turned in for some lore and better rewards. Wrathborn hunt farming was the best way to get these spectral pages for the event. We had a new dinosaur themed armor set and a pulse rifle to earn, and overall the event was fine. It was better than the previous years in some ways and not as good in others. And for Festival of the Lost in 2022, more haunted lost sectors, a new event card for the event like we had during Solstice 2022, and of course a bunch of masks and cosmetics. The weapon this year is an ARC sniper rifle with an awesome design. The new armor this year is mech themed, which was voted on by the community. However, I think some people are regretting their votes this year because there's been quite a bit of backlash relating to the design of the armor. And I'll admit, it's not my favorite either, but to each their own. And that is it for Festival of the Lost through the years from 2015 to 2022. Enjoy the event today, guys.